Good morning. I'm Rosemary DiTrolio, and you're listening to The Lightwalker's Path. It's a place to develop new insights, find your soul's purpose, hear enlightening conversation, and be inspired. Hi there, this is Rosemary, and this is The Lightwalker's Path, and we're streaming live on multiple streaming platforms. And you'll find this show Tuesday at 10 a.m. live. And also, you could find replays on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and other streaming platforms that this show runs on. I also have included some of the past podcasts I did on my website at rosemaryd.com. So today I had the honor of meeting with a man named Alden Darville. He's a transformational leadership coach, and he does accept clients. He's experienced in many areas of civic and social organizations. He's skilled in planning, sales, administration, and international relations. And he's an award winning serial entrepreneur and startup enthusiast, founder and CEO of H2HB, which stands for Heart to Heart Business. And it's a platform for entrepreneurs. And we met recently, and I had a chat with him, and I was so excited to be able to interview him today and have him join my show. So let's welcome in Alden. Hi, Alden.
Hello, Rosemary. Thank you so much for having me on. I'm really excited for today.
You're welcome. I'm blessed to have you on the show, and I'm excited to speak to you and learn more about you and what you do and your native wisdom that you have that the rest of us need to know more about. So, part of the conversation we had before was about things that you see as changes in the world, as I do as well. And I'd like you to share some of what your vision is that you want to bring in through your business and who you are as a person.
Okay. First of all, again, thank you so much for this. It's wonderful to be here. And hello to all your viewers. I am currently calling from Germany. I'm away from my hometown in Nova Scotia, Canada. I'm currently
Hmm.
giving my daughter a cultural experience of learning her language and experiencing, more of what the culture is. As far as changes go, yes. I mean, we are living in extraordinary times. I think Alan Watts said it best that before we, before a species um, um, departs for the stars, there's a bit of a fire in a madhouse, and I believe that's where we're at right now. You only have to turn on your TV, look at your social media, see what's going on in the world to see what is actually happening. And we are in, for lack of a better word, our Gaia is in chaos,
Absolutely.
which has us all in survival mode, which when we are in survival mode, as you well know, we cannot evolve. So we are
That's right.
basically just stagnant, fighting to keep food on the table, fighting to protect what we thought was always right, even in this incredible time of change.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and we really have to take a step back and look at who we are, what we are, and understand that this change is going to happen with us or without us.
I believe that. I totally agree. I know that I was channeling information for many years about Earth changes coming, and
Mhm.
that the only way that our species will survive is by cooperation and not competition. And I've
Mhm.
always believed that the more that you can help each other, the mentality of the greater good and the one is what's going to get us through all the times that we need right now.
I
So
could not
yeah,
agree.
yes,
We
yes.
are all one, and and the indigenous nations always knew. No, they didn't call themselves nations. It's just the indigenous people always knew what worship was, and they worshiped the land, they worshiped the trees,
I
they worshiped the water. That
love,
is what we are. I always say to everyone, we are no more than fancy houseplants. You take the sun
yeah,
away from us, you take the water away from us, we will wilter and die.
absolutely. I think it was a Chief White Eagle that had a quote that, when the people realize that you can't drink the money and you can't survive, the people will die. And it's so true. I've always believed in, the earth yells, and when we're not taking care of it, it's going to scream at us. We're going to get earthquakes and waterways and problems because we're part of it. We're part of
As
that
above,
energy.
as
Mm-hmm.
above,
As above
so
is
below.
below. Yep. Right. Absolutely.
Absolutely. These are these
Yes.
are these are extraordinary times that we're living in right now, and I hope all your viewers and everybody understands what an extreme privilege it is to be here. And even though there's so much chaos going on, you chose to be here at this particular
That,
time. You know,
that
as Dolores Cannon always says, this is the greatest show in the universe, and it's happening in real time right now.
It is. It is. I find too, there's such a dichotomy between the mindsets of different people and the different energies. So we have those people that are chasing the old paradigm of more, 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 and cutthroat mentality, which is terrible. And then those of
Yes.
us that are light workers that are trying to say, wait, there's a better way. And there's this
Hmm.
real struggle going on under the scene that probably has
Hmm.
always been there, but it's pretty highlighted now.
You know what? You nailed it. And and the greater wisdom shows that if you're not awake by now, you're not going to wake up. And that's not true for a lot of. I mean, that's true. And what I'm about to say is going to almost sound like a contradiction to that, because I believe this year we are
Hmm.
going to have a lot of people awakening due to
Yes.
circumstances, due to where we are in the universe, due to what is going on the planet and above right now. So
Mm.
we are about to see a mass awakening, I believe, happening very, very, very soon, because people, um, just the way that our world is going right now, people are going to do it. So those ones who haven't fully awake right now, they are on the cusp of awakening. They
Mhm.
know that something is not right. They know that something internally within them that's much larger
Just
than they are is
mm,
not really performing the way they would like to see the world around them perform. So they're in conflict with that, with what's going on in the world today, and that shows itself in many different ways. It could come out as depression, mental illness, what the heck am I doing, rebellion. It's a fascinating time, and I was going to say historical, but really, I'm not
mhm.
sure we've ever seen a time like this before, at least
You know,
in
I was
on our
I
planet.
was thinking of Alden. I was thinking back in the 60s, there was this great like understanding that we're killing each other and we have to take care of each other. And then all
Hmm.
these people got addicted to drugs and everything just got lost. So I almost
Hmm.
think that it was kind of like a hint like, this is where you are, this is the new way of thinking, and then it
Yeah,
disappeared for years. So I think it's always been underlying. We've always had that choice. Free will is such a two-edged sword, right?
it's
So,
so true. I think you hit on something there, because I think the last great blip in human consciousness was in the 60s. And we
mhm.
knew, I mean, if you think about the generational gaps that were going on at that particular time,
Absolutely.
as a boomer myself, my father grew up during the war and became the silent generation. And, we passed these lessons on,
Yeah,
this generational trauma on to all of
yeah,
us. And now
yes.
we have the opportunity to be able to basically uh, nip that in the bud, so that we have
Mhm.
future generations won't be going on. And Alan Watts said it great. We are actually right now we're in the time before we depart. Like I said earlier, you know, uh, it's a fire in a madhouse, and I don't believe we're going to depart for the stars. Meaning, I believe we're going to level up in consciousness.
Oh, I,
And
I, I, yes. Yes, I agree. And I see it happening with a lot of clients that come to me that are on
mhm,
like fence sitting and then they have to shift. And then when that
yes,
shift happens, all of a sudden other things open and they're like, oh my goodness, I had this great experience and, just amazing things that happen. And the kids are amazing too. I
oh,
had the honor of teaching children for 32 years in education. And and some of these kids were amazing spiritual souls that decided to come in as the next generation of healers
mhm,
and helpers. And they'd come up to me and they'd tell me like this wisdom that would just blow your mind. And these were
mhm.
8-year-olds, and they remembered. So it's been quite an interesting journey working with kids and working with adults
It's
at this time.
amazing. At Rosemary, you absolutely nailed it. when the child before the age of 7 years old, is, you know, if they see a lion jump out of their wall,
Mhm.
through their imagination, they don't determine whether that's real or not real. To them,
Right.
that's just the way it
That's
is, and they will determine it one way or the other. These
yes.
are these kids are connected with
Or
with the spiritual realm, for where
with
they came from the universe, and they can still waver back and forth into the in between those two
mhm.
timelines in a magical way that somehow we as a society have drilled that out of them.
That's right.
And,
That's right.
yeah, but now we're hitting a bit of a critical mass with these young people, and
I
they're
love it.
coming out, and they are now becoming our teachers. And as boomers,
Uh-huh.
we need to be gatekeepers for them. We need to hold the door open for them, and to show them they have the freedom and the protection to be able to speak their truth.
Love that. Yes, absolutely. It just reminded me, I was teaching a lesson several years ago. We were doing mandalas, which are, the healing pictures. And the kid,
Yes.
I played music and I said, okay, just use your imagination and just, to make one. So the child made a circle, and all the kids are making mandalas. And
Mhm.
I had the kids explain what the meanings were after. And one child, an 8-year-old, he goes to me, he goes, this is showing that the animals have a voice and we need to listen to the animals, and that the earth is special and we need to love the earth. And I'm looking at him like, this is incredible, because I knew he was tapping into that universal wisdom
Mhm.
that
Oh my
kids
God.
are close to. But and all of them had something like incredible to say. Another one said, we have to be gentle and kind to each other. I mean, these are the 8-year-olds with limited kind of a vocabulary, and they're channeling this amazing wisdom. So I kept some of the best ones, because I thought it was just incredible. These
You
little
know,
beings now had come up with this wisdom.
it's so incredible. They don't have, and I have a theory about these kids now, where they're coming down the fallopian tubes with this information, the knowing, as we like
They
to
know.
say,
And
already in them without the hard lessons that we boomers
yes,
and teenagers had to learn. They're coming
yes,
out there right now because they came to this time knowing what's actually going to go on.
yes.
So they are going to be our teachers very soon.
It's cool. Like I have really early memories that knowing I was here before. And I had a very strong, different cultures. Like I had a very,
Mhm.
very strong connection to native culture. I'm an Italian from New Jersey. My mother, I'd cry when I saw the natives getting hurt on TV. Like, Mom, my people are dying. She's like, honey, we're
Mhm.
Italians from New Jersey. What are you talking about? But I remember that, and I
One.
remember knowing I was here before to
Mhm.
be a helper and to do something. And it's kind of been the pattern of my life, always helping, teaching, and moving people forward. And of course, learning the hard lessons myself, because
Yeah.
as you are, I'm also a boomer, and I've had my tush kicked through through life
Yeah.
too.
We had to learn
So
the hard way, but at least we learned.
we learn, thank God, right?
Mhm.
Yes.
I always
Okay,
say
so
that my dark night of the soul that I ever had, and a lot of my friends look at me a little bit weird. And in retrospect, when I sit with them and I say, I am so grateful for that. That was the best thing that ever happened to me, because I would not be who the person I am today and doing what I am doing today without that experience.
yeah, I think we all learn, and I think when people say get stuck, it's because they're stressing over what happened to them rather than finding the lesson in why it happened and what their soul is learning from it. So once you get that idea, you can shift, because you're like, oh, it was for my benefit, not for my punishment. You know?
Exactly. And then you
Yeah.
realize that the rules of the game have changed for you. And then
Yes.
the things that used to hang your hat on all the time no longer matter. You
That's
just
right.
look at things now and just say, well, that may be a
Mhm.
hanging for you, but certainly not for me. And the way I
Yeah.
see through that is this: because when you have your dark night of the soul, when you're sitting there alone in whatever turmoil you're going through, and you've come to that understanding that this is as low as you can go.
Mhm.
Nothing really seems all that difficult to conquer anymore. It's like,
Yeah.
well, why would I not do that?
Yes.
Because I
Well,
may fail? Hmm.
yes. They say when you're in hell, keep walking. Like, don't stay there, you know? Learn the lesson and keep going.
Keep moving. And I think that's the problem with people when they don't evolve is that they do stay in that hell.
Yeah.
And they stay in that hell and they either become addicted for life or they suddenly feel sorry for themselves. They become the victim and or they never ever grow. And I just believe that it's if you're in there, would I ever
Mhm.
want that for my daughter? Absolutely not. Would I
Right.
want her to live a carefree life where she can just get find the soulmate of her life and have a nice house on a hill and live happily ever after without a worry in the world? Absolutely, I would love that.
Beautiful.
But if you have to go through it, you
Keep
got to go
going.
through it.
Gotta learn. Okay, we're coming up on a sponsor break. My guest is Alan Darville, and we'll be right back. Stay with us. Welcome back to Lightwalker's Path, Grow Your Spirit with Rosemary, and my guest, Alden Darville. And before the break, we were talking about the new age and the children that are coming in with amazing gifts, and how we're reaching a shifting point, a paradigm, which is quite amazing. I remember hearing when, you know, that song, When the Moon is in the Seventh House and Jupiter aligns with Mars. Well, I know last night all the planets were in alignment.
Right.
And one of the things I channeled years ago was that the alignment of the planets represents us and the alignment of our chakras. And when
Mm-hmm.
we're aligned with the right things, it'll happen. Things will shift. And that's kind of where we are now. And I thought it's kind of interesting that we're walking through this at this time in history. So pretty cool.
Okay. We are moving out of Pisces and into Aquarius into the time of knowing, which is
Knowing.
very, very key to what is going to be happening for us over these next few years. And
Hmm.
it's going to be a very interesting time. And I would tell everybody to buckle up because your norms are going to be challenged. There's going to be some insights that are going to challenge your way of thinking altogether. And uh, I think it's I think it's going to be possible where we're going to see chaos simply for the fact that people aren't going to be able to process some of the things that are going to be going down.
Yeah.
And, and I think it's going to be a very liberating and very tumultuous time, which is
Hmm.
why it's important for the light workers, the star seeds, the energy influencers to keep their light burning so that people know when they are actually challenged with these new ideas, new thoughts, new feelings that they're going to be experiencing, that there's going to be people out there who will listen to them and talk to them and actually help them walk them through this period.
Yeah, I that's another thing when I was channeling my angels, they said that in order for us to make a difference, us light workers who came in at this time, we have to maintain our positivity and don't walk in darkness with the people that are in the dark because then you can't help them.
Mm-hmm.
So in other words, try to keep that light going and keep positive and bring messages of hope and awareness rather than doom and gloom and the fear type of information that we see constantly on the news. So it's really just keeping yourself more positive and letting light
Mm-hmm.
in when you can.
It's the fear, which that's what keeps us. This is what keeps us from evolving and keeps us in
I
survival. And
yeah.
can I tell you my fear story?
Oh, I love it. Yes, go ahead.
Okay. So about a year ago now, I had a dream. I've always been brave, like what
Hmm.
my friends would say is brave, but really it's courage. It's
Yes.
really you're just being courageous. And so I had this dream, and I was in the space was all dark, and I'm just sort of existing within this darkness. And all of a sudden, I look over, and there's a door with a very dim light coming out of
Hmm.
it. Kind of you know ominous looking. So I walk over to the door. There's nothing else around me outside of darkness in this doorway. And I don't cross over the threshold of the door, but I'm looking in and I see this black, spiky, glowing ball
Hmm.
zooming back and forth in this room.
Hmm.
So I decide that I'm going to walk into that room. And I
Hmm.
walk into it, passing through the threshold, which is a big deal, as you know.
Mm-hmm.
And as I go into the room, I grab the ball and it's in my hand and I just released it. And when I
Hmm.
released it and I woke up the next day, I I didn't really need courage anymore. I was actually fearless. Fearless to the
Hmm.
extent that not survival fear. I still look both ways when I cross the street, if you know what I mean. That's survival. That's survival. But I really, really, really just think, oh my God, there is nothing that is possible. There is everything is possible.
Hmm.
Everything is possible. And the only thing that's keeping us back is this programming that we get nailed with every single day when we turn on our TVs or listen to social
Yeah.
media, or even the negativity that you might have at work or even within your own families. We are
Mm-hmm.
becoming a divided people. And when we are a divided people, we cannot come together and we cannot create real change if we are separated.
Absolutely.
Bottom,
I so
bottom
agree
line.
with that. I think we're a family of humanity. We're not you're this and I'm that. I think that the more people see each other as the soul within and we're all a human family, we're going to survive. But there is so much divisiveness. It's almost like we're always looking for an enemy. That person's
Yeah.
bad because of this and this person's good because of that.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
it's really a mess. A quote I love is courage is fear that said its prayers.
Yeah, I like
I
that.
heard that from someone. I'm
I
like, I love that because it just
like
shows that, false evidence appearing real, fear, it's if you listen to it, it's the tail that wags the dog, right?
exactly.
So,
And I
but
believe that the demons that we actually create, the demons that are out there
oh
that
yeah,
we create out of fear.
we do.
Those
We do.
that's the fear materializing within our subconscious.
It does. And I think, thought forms can create as well. And, because I was one of these people that when I dream, I have this thing called hypnagogia. So I see
Hmm.
visions sometimes.
Hmm.
And I'm challenged by some things also that were kind of scary. And what I
Yeah,
realized is I hold my hand up and say, you got no power here. Be gone.
that's
Where's the creator's in power here? Get lost. And I've been
exactly.
able to scare off a bunch of scary things through the years.
And this is what I'm teaching my daughter. You know, like like she doesn't have that fear when we go into an airport or we go into a busy place.
Yeah.
She just she like or we drop her off to school. She just walks forward. She doesn't even look back.
Oh,
She doesn't
yes.
even look back at us. Like we're just thinking,
Yeah.
you know what? Kind of sometimes it makes my heart do this, right?
Yeah.
But then I'm
Sure.
really, really happy about it because I think, yes,
Yes.
we're well on our
Yes.
way to having a strong little kid who doesn't have to worry about, you know, a little bit about life. And the next step, of course, is to teach her a little bit discernment about.
Up, yes, yeah. Yeah, that's absolutely true. I know that when I was teaching too, I had some kids that were so fearful they wouldn't even go in their backyard because their parents made them so nuts about
Mm,
strangers. I'm like, you know what? You listen to your parents. If they think the person's safe, that's good. Use your
mm,
inner feelings to know if you feel funny about it, your body's telling you that person is not safe. And you just have to learn skills of like you're saying discernment, to
mhm.
to be more trusting in yourself. I think when
Ooh,
people
that
give their
other
kids
one.
fear, they forget. The kids
That's right.
don't remember that they can discern and feel. So, okay. So I wanted to ask you, you had said energy is the new currency. I read that
Mhm,
somewhere or heard one of your
mhm.
things. I want you to explain simply what that means, like that you would want that message. Energy is the new currency. And I get it, but I want people to know.
Well, I think what we're looking at right now is we're in the last stages of the age of materialism. We are in the last stages where we are seeing that the money game isn't really working for anybody
Mhm.
anymore. We live in a world where, okay, I've got a house on a hill. I can put enough food on my table and I can travel and I can do what I want. But how is it that I can live in a world and not feel that there are so many people living in such desperate situations all over the world? This planet is a heaven, and we
Mm,
have literally made it a bit of a hell. It's heaven
yeah,
and hell, as you well
yeah,
know. And
yeah.
and so, is everybody born into hell? Is that the case? That would make hell really what we think it is from a theological standpoint. But
Mm,
really, this is a beautiful, beautiful place with water,
Mm-hmm.
nature, mountains.
Mm-hmm.
We're social beings. And why is it that we cannot get along with our fellow man? Why have we lost sight of the fact that we cannot no longer count on our fellow man anymore because we've lost the ability to become a village again. We used to be a village. We used to reach
Right.
out and help our fellow man whenever we needed. Now, and I call it cheering for the wrong team because really that's what we're doing. We're cheering. It's become a political game
Mm.
now where um, we are being played basically by
Yeah.
politics.
I
Um,
yep.
it doesn't matter if it's blue or red. Really, they have the same masters,
Mm-hmm.
and that master is greed and money.
The money
And
fall.
and that's what they want, and basically their goal now is to stay in business, and
Yeah.
I think paradigm is about to take a
Unbel-
significant shift and a step backwards, because and it's going to be a bit of a bumpy ride because we're seeing now, I mean, you're looking at people, or you're looking at everyone now saying, there's got to be a better way. You see people building communities, you see people getting back to gardening, and at the
yeah.
same time we see our governmental organizations restricting people through
Mm-hmm.
to be able to take naturopathic medicines.
Yes.
I posted, I sent a message in Messenger on a popular social media page where it was showing a Chinese hand massage in
Mm-hmm.
Messenger, not
Mm.
even posting it. I sent it in
Yeah.
Messenger, and they said that it says that whoever the group
Wasn't
was,
allowed. Wasn't allowed. Yes.
right, said that this goes against our community standards. And I was
Yeah.
thinking,
Yeah.
wow,
How?
they're listening to our messages, and me
Yeah.
just posting an article about Chinese hand massage. This is
Crazy.
the kind of world that we're living in. So
I know.
what we've done is we basically are monopolizing the medical industry.
Oh
That's what
yeah.
this
That's
tells me.
research. Yeah.
And wherever they're, oh well, I mean
I know.
that's
I get
killing
it.
it.
I get it. Oh, it's funny. My mother-in-law was a naturopathic healer, and
Oh,
I grow herbs and I do things like that, and I'll always do the alternative first and then go to medical. If
yes.
you really need it and that other stuff doesn't work, then you shift
Mhm.
and you do your medical stuff. But
Mhm.
I've always been a believer that the body heals itself if you do the right
Yes.
things for it, best that you can. Wisdom,
Like,
that's the
this
ancient
means.
wisdom.
Mhm.
The Chinese medicine, the Native American herbs, and so many different wisdoms that we've forgotten that we need to
That's
to
right.
find again. So I wanted you
Yeah.
to mention
My
we're coming up
mother,
on a
God
break,
bless her
but
heart. Oh,
yes,
I was just going to say, I'll say very quickly. My mother,
yeah,
who was a First Nations person, and she used to heal herself all the time. She used to
beautiful,
heal herself all the time. Lived to be 97 years old.
beautiful, beautiful.
Involved.
All right, so when we come back, I want you to mention we're going to start off with that idea, and this is the Lightwalker's Path, and we'll be right back. Ellen Darville's my guest, and this is the Lightwalker's Path. Welcome back. This is the Lightwalker's Path and my guest, Alden Darville. So before break, we were talking about native wisdom and some of the ancient healing things that were quite common that we've lost sight of. I also wanted you to mention, you had a certain book that you mentioned to me. What's the name of the book? And is it out now that you have written?
Uh, actually, I am just one person of a number of authors, 13 authors, who have put together their soul stories. It's called
Oh,
The Great Awakening Soul Stories, and the
okay.
subtitle is Primordial Soup for the Soul.
Oh, I love
And
that.
what this is a collection of stories about people on LinkedIn who we are actually changing the algorithm on LinkedIn
Mhm.
with our content, and it's catching on. There's things
Oh,
that we would talk about on LinkedIn now that you would never have talked about
yes.
even 3 or 4 years ago, even. So these amazing souls have come together and poured their heart out on paper.
Mm-hmm.
And I am so excited. Just thinking about it right now, I'm getting those spiritual chills. I had them a few times when you were talking.
Mm-hmm.
And it's about to drop at any moment, and it's
Love
called Great Awakening Soul
Great Awakening.
Stories.
Okay.
And when so the moment it drops, I'll let you know. And it's going to come out in an ebook format. And our goal is to give away 1 million copies.
Wow. That's beautiful. And they'll find it on your website, or how will they
You'll
find
be
this book?
you'll be able to find it on superfreaks.com, or you can go on LinkedIn on my
Oh,
profile, or the Superfreaks page. We also have a page on Facebook as well.
okay. Very interesting. I'll have to look for that. Okay. Um, all right. You grew up in, you said in the Bear tribe. Is that your lineage, your mom's lineage?
Well, she's part of the Mi'kmaq, which is part of eastern Canada. It goes from Nova Scotia, a little bit in New Brunswick, and a little bit in eastern Quebec, and some in Maine.
Okay.
And did not know I was a Bear Tribe member until I was going through my spiritual journey when the bear presented itself to me.
Okay.
And so I've become the bear is a huge symbol for me. It's the protector. It
Hmm.
goes hand in hand with the eagle.
Eagle.
Um, they basically they are the protector and full of wisdom. And so for me, and I with my daughter as well. I we have this little joke. I am Ursa Major and she's Ursa Minor,
Yeah. Oh,
and
that's
that's our thing. And I recently just had a wonderful dream with the bear, and I was running through the
oh,
woods,
I love it.
running through the woods with this most majestic, beautiful animal, and it was just amazing to to feel that because it just shows you to say, okay, we
Totems.
are
Yeah.
all one. We are
Yeah.
all one. Yeah, but I actually grew up off reservation, so I never had the same experiences that a lot of people did.
Uh,
So when these experiences all came to me, they were all brand new. These were like amazing,
yeah.
um, like absolutely incredible uh, feats that I was actually experiencing without having a lot of knowledge about my
Yes.
history,
Yes. That's really
personal.
cool. I've always had this thing with hawks and with wolves, and they show up in my dreams. And I know the wolf is a sign of the teacher, right?
Yeah,
And the hawk
your
feathers.
teacher.
I even had an eagle drop a feather for me. So I worked at the park one year, and it was above me in a tree, and I said, "Would you please just drop me a gift?" So I got this down feather, and I put my hand out, and I got it. And I've
Wow.
had other weird things happen, like at powwows. My husband and I, our first date was a powwow.
Mm,
So they were having a native powwow over here, and I was always called over to someone's table. I
mhm,
got an angel that was made, that a person made. Someone else gave
mm.
me a bear claw. Someone
Wow.
handed me a turkey feather. So, but it was like they say you've got spirit around you. Come over here, and then I get
Yeah.
to.
Oh my gosh.
It
It's
was
so
like, oh my
amazing.
God, it hit my heart because it was just such a special moment
Mhm,
to be gifted those things.
mhm.
So that's beautiful. Yeah. Okay. Um, I want you to tell me about your organization.
Mhm.
So tell me what your organization does for entrepreneurs and people that come in.
Yeah. So heart to heart business. Basically, when I'll quickly just give you a little bit of background on it. I used to own a language school with my wife, and we owned a
Mm-hmm.
language school here in Nova Scotia, and we brought
Mm-hmm.
people from all over the world to come to Canada to learn English and go to university in Canada. And so when I
Mm-hmm.
passed this to the new ownership, um, I remember having this uncharacteristic conversation with her from my standpoint, where I was so angry, and I
Mm.
and I said, "You're treating the people who are working for you like cattle."
Mm.
And I was so angry at this woman. It was not her fault. She was just doing something different than I was doing.
Right.
And then after we have this very rough Zoom session where I just basically said, okay, you know what?
Mm-hmm.
I have to divorce myself from that situation because this is just not where it's going. And that's where H2HB, heart to heart business, came along, where we wanted to show people that everybody matters within the chain of
Yeah.
the business, whether they are the CEO, where they're the shareholder, or whether they are are coming to clean up after you. It does not matter where you are.
Full circle.
Everybody
Hmm.
gets treated with the same respect. Everybody gets treated with kindness and a human being.
Yes,
And it was while I was doing this on LinkedIn because this was a very acceptable thing, and I found myself moving a little bit more and more into spirituality because the two were very much connected.
they
And then
are.
I met a couple of people on LinkedIn who said, you know what? Why don't we just join a group? Why don't we create another group about
Hmm.
what we're all going through right now, which is this awakening process?
Yes.
And you can't really describe the awakening process to somebody who hasn't really had it. You
Mm,
basically have to go through that process yourself to understand this elevated awareness that you now have.
right.
And
True.
you really can't explain it to somebody. It's a knowing, as you know.
Yeah.
And when you have that knowing, and where that knowing comes from is the basically downloads from the universe. And when you
Downloads.
get those downloads from the universe, it is beyond anything that
That's
you can
right.
even imagine. It's like an upgrade in a video game. It's suddenly
Yeah.
you are being gifted with a tremendous amount of power,
Yeah.
and then it's up to you to learn how to use that power
That's right.
and to use your expertise as being able to, because you now have this elevated awareness that
Hmm.
you want to be able to get your message across without separating people
Hmm.
and to
Without
show them.
ego.
Hey, that's right, because people will say, "Oh yeah, yeah, well, who, what?"
Yeah.
Suddenly,
What
you
do you?
know something that
Yeah.
the rest of us don't know, and
Yeah.
that's a difficult mantle to pass on to people.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's like when someone's never tasted chocolate and you're trying to describe the taste, they don't know what it is because they haven't tried it. So I always say that take with you what resonates with your heart at this time, and eventually, if something's meant to, you're going to understand it. It'll be like that natural understanding that you've had the same experience or a similar experience, but you don't know till you do it. So,
Exactly.
it's
It's like when
something
you
that,
have a personal miracle happen to you. If you have a
yeah,
personal miracle, I mean, you're a channeler, for
yeah,
gosh sake, so you know that there's a lot of people that just don't get that.
yes,
When
yeah.
you have a personal miracle that happens to you, like if you when you read the book Soul Stories, The Great
Mhm.
Awakening, you're going to see people are having these massive, massive miracles happen to them, and there's no one really to high five or hug or to say,
Yeah,
"This
who do
just
I
happened
share
to
it
me."
with? Who do I tell? Right? Yes.
That's right. And
Yes.
everything, and I'm talking about everything that you could possibly imagine, from people remembering their own birth, from people who
Mhm.
remember being in other timelines, for people that
Mhm.
remember being on other planets, from people that had near death
Yeah.
experiences, for people that met Jesus. Uh,
Yeah.
I mean, how do you say, I just met
Yes.
Jesus to somebody, to the guy on the bus next to you? They're
Yeah.
going to say, oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Well, I always say, when you have that incredible experience, you need those like-minded people to share it with,
Mhm.
because if you throw pearls to swine, they don't get
Mhm.
it. They're just gonna downgrade what you have experienced. And I've met people like that have crossed over, came back, and through my business, I've met people that, have had these amazing experiences. And
Mhm.
it's a safe place to share is when you have a group of people that are on a spiritual path, because then they're not going to judge. And that's
No,
great that you have this plan and this format that you allow people to do that, and they're there to share. I love that. That's
they're there to
great.
share. And that's why we started the Super Freaks, because we
Yeah.
wanted to shine the light on other light workers out there who, especially on this platform of LinkedIn, who always
Mm.
didn't have that freedom.
Yes, yes. Or they call themselves weird or strange. I'm like, no, you had an experience from your soul that you had that maybe someone else didn't have. So they have no right
Mhm.
to judge it. They don't know. They haven't walked
Ex-
in your shoes. They haven't
Exactly.
walked in your shoes. So, okay.
That
Um,
is the.
that is it, right? Okay. Um, all right. For you, who is your great influence? Do you have people that were your guides or great influence that have caused you to shift, or was it your direct experiences that caused a shift?
I'm going to say it was both.
Yeah.
I was
Okay.
going to say it's both. I've always been surrounded by good people. Like, I've
Hmm.
always had good people around me.
Hmm.
My best friends who thought I was always a little bit weird, a little bit off base. always, kind of looked at me and said, well, that's just Alden, like when I was in high school and shortly
Mm,
after, when I was experiencing some anomalies in life that other people don't get to necessarily do. And why was I on this spiritual path at such an early age? And why was I
yeah,
thinking so much?
yeah,
And but I always had those good people around me, and they're still around me, and I still play golf with them. These guys that I've known since high school,
beautiful.
and I've got my oldest brother who's now passed away, which was one of the triggers for me actually losing my way for a little bit because
Mhm.
I didn't really know how to cope with death
Yeah,
at that point in my life,
sure.
and so that sort of drove me to a place where I needed to do a lot of work on myself,
Yeah.
and but I've always been a wisdom seeker and a reader,
Hmm.
and it wasn't, but it really wasn't until I awoke. And let's be careful when we use the word awakened, because as you probably know, this happens in stages.
Does.
Nobody becomes enlightened, and it's an ongoing process. And I'm not
It
by
is.
any
Life
means
is.
getting
Yes.
and I
Yes.
want people to understand that because they think, oh, you
You're never
do,
done. You're never
yeah,
done. Learn it here. You can learn it on the other side when you cross over. You're never
absolutely.
done. And you learn it when you recycle back.
Mhm.
It's always
But you
something.
told me you're not coming back, and I believe that because I believe
That's
that
what I was
you,
told.
yes,
I've done,
I believe that you're not
honestly, I
coming back.
believe
You're going.
I'm not, I have a lot to go. I still feel I have a lot of learning to do and a lot of,
That's probably one of the reasons you're going to go because
no, we're never done. That's what I'm saying. It's like, oh, I
oh
don't
yeah,
know. All right,
yeah.
so we're coming up on the last sponsor break, the Lightwalker's Path. We'll be back in about a minute. Here we go. Hi, this is the Lightwalker's Path, Fairy Spirit with Rosemary, and my guest, Alden Darville. And we were talking about values, business, his soon to be book coming out, and it'll be on LinkedIn, and also values that we hold dear. So I was speaking about integrity. What are some of your values that you hold dear in your life?
Well, now one of the values that I hold dearly in my life is just being grateful. You
Oh, I
know,
love that.
uh,
Mm-hmm.
you know, just being grateful. One of the things that I do, and a lot of people do, is they have when they're in their meditation process, is that I am just extremely grateful that I have my health, that I've
Mm-hmm.
got a beautiful family,
Mm-hmm.
that I'm actually here during these tumultuous, incredible times.
Mm-hmm.
Um, that I can do that I can actually do what I'm doing.
Yes.
Um, I view people differently now, where I used to have a bit of a hang up about if they disagreed with me about certain topics. This does not make them bad people. This we have a disagreement about politics, or we have a disagreement about um, well, it doesn't really matter what it is about. It's just we
Yeah.
have to give the freedom for people to be able to think their own world and their own lives, because what we are experiencing is our own reality, and
That's
our
right.
reality is untouchable by
Mm,
anybody else because we
right.
are the creators of that reality.
That's true. It's like the Matrix, the living Matrix. The world's a mirror for your inner awareness. So when you experience a lot of people that are divisive, I would say look back at yourself, because
Mhm.
maybe that's the energy you put out into the world. So you have to be real careful with the energy that we bring out, and that's part of the reason why I love doing what I'm doing with this podcast. I want to bring out that light so that people can shine their own. That's my mission.
You know what? It's probably the most important thing. One of the things that I do in my coaching all the time, I spend a great deal of time getting my clients to understand how freaking powerful they actually are and where they
Yeah.
come from. And why would
Yeah.
they deny themselves that divinity? And if you
Mhm.
came from the stars, if you came from God, or Gus,
Mhm.
I like to call him Gus, God,
Got
universe, source,
that. Love
God,
that.
universe, source. And why would you limit yourself in anything you did in this
Yes.
on this plane, in this
Yeah.
timeline right now?
Yeah. I love
There's no
that.
reason for it.
Yes, that's beautiful. And I know that your daughter had a birthday. So you just have one child, or do you have more children that I don't know
No,
about?
they just the one girl, and she is like, holy cow. I mean, you really don't know who you are as a person until you have a
That's
child.
true.
You
She's
know, like
six, right?
I
Just
like
turned
to
six.
believe I'm a person. I'm a servant. I mean, I'm in servitude, but
Yes,
I'm a servant.
you're a servant to a 6-year-old, right?
But really,
I
you
always
know,
think
it's
it's so
incredible,
true.
really. And
Yeah.
my wife is a genius. Like you, she's a teacher, and she is just she's empathy personified, and
Hmm.
the lessons that she passes on to our little one are just absolutely incredible. I've learned everything I've learned about parenting. I have learned from my wife
That's
because
beautiful.
she just told me, you know, one of the greatest lessons she ever taught me was like when a kid stops and they want to jump into a puddle, and
Hmm.
if you're not stuck for time or duty,
Let him jump
stay
in the
there
puddle.
with that kid and let them enjoy that puddle because that to them that
Absolutely.
puddle is everything,
It is. It is. That
and
is
let
awesome.
them have that experience.
We used to have, the snow days. The kids would get excited, and
Yeah.
I'd be teaching a lesson. I was like, then I'd pull up the blinds and say, everybody, go to the window and look at the snow, and then when you're done, you can come back to your seat. Because to me,
That is
that was
so
the kid
cool.
I was.
That
I
is
was.
so
I
cool.
loved it.
You know, my wife would tell you the same thing because we had an
Yeah.
international language school. So when we had students from South America,
Mhm.
like Brazil or Colombia or any one of those places, and they did live in the mountains. If if it started snowing, she
Mhm.
stopped the class. She would stop the class, and everybody would go outside, and that was them
I
having
love.
the
Yes.
most important experience, one of the most important experiences of that time. And we took kids everywhere. We took them on hikes. We took them whale watching.
Yeah.
I mean, nothing
Love.
changes your life than watching a
Yeah.
30-ton whale jump out of the water a few feet in front of
Yeah.
your boat, where
I
people
love
are
that.
actually crying because they just had that experience, and touching snow for the first time and seeing it and playing with it. I mean,
Beautiful.
those were the gifts of that job.
Beautiful. Okay, so that was a lot. We have no more minutes of our show, it looks like. So this is the Lightwalker's Path. I thank you and I give gratitude and heart hugs to you for your time today. I so appreciate you, and I hope people look you up on LinkedIn and find your books and your information. And this is Rosemary. Please explore my website for workshops, sessions, books, courses, and other interesting things like self-study things that you could look into. Anyway, this is Rosemary, and thank you so much, Alden. I really appreciated time with you today. Thank you and blessings. I'm your host, Rosemary DiTrolio, and you've been watching and listening to The Lightwalker's Path. Learn about my workshops, sessions, courses, and more at info@rosemaryd.com. My website, rosemaryd.com, Hands of Light by Rosemary. Have a blessed and beautiful day.